It's 5 minutes past 10, which means it's time for our talkback lawyer, David Whiting, to help you with free legal advice. 1300 222 774 if you'd like some free legal advice. 1300 222 774. That's the number to call. David, good morning to you.
Good morning, John.
Whoops, I just knocked over all the empty cups. Sorry about that.
Good night. You didn't do the full ones.
No, well, yeah, that's happened before too, but let's not dwell on that.
That's why there are drain holes on the desk.
I nearly fell off the couch laughing with the news headlines on Sunday evening that shock horror. Plaintiff ambulance chasing law firm pays people to refer clients to them. Oh my God, that's never happened before. So the news on the ABC was that Slater and Gordon were paying people a spotter's fee for referring clients to them. Gee whiz, that's been going on for decades.
Oh, absolutely. There were, the tow truck drivers used to have lawyers' cards in there. So, there was a spotter's fee paid.
Yep.
But there was a report...
and funeral parlours would refer you on for probate and on it goes. You're supposed to get clients from somewhere. Where else do you get them from?
Yes, okay, yeah. Lots of
Guess you could do talkback on the ABC.
You could do talkback on the ABC, yes. I think it's really a question. I mean, I actually see the role of the lawyer is to be it's a question of how you inform a client or a person of what their rights are, rather than where they necessarily go. But there was a report in yesterday's paper and today's that talked about a website where you go and you make your doctor's appointments, and they have 1.5 million appointments made per month and about 15 million different customers per year. And when you make the appointment, they ask you a series of questions. Basically, you think it's so you can assist the medical practitioner you're off to see, but their website says that we then pass your details on to other people. So
if you say, yes, I need to see the doctor
because I was involved in a car accident or the accident at work, the answer is, well, your details are going to be provided to someone for a fee.
Yep.
And which just goes to prove, John, that if it's free, you're the product.
That's right, over and over again.
Yep.
We've got used to that. So that's pretty unremarkable. There's nothing unethical about it, is there? I mean, there might be from a privacy point of view, but if you've actually not unticked the box saying, I'm happy for my details to be passed on, that resolves that, and you're not doing anything wrong. Well,
this particular organisation has two policies. It has a privacy policy that doesn't tell you this, and it has a collection policy that says we might refer you on to people who we think you might benefit from their services.
Yeah.
So it's the difficulty, John. So who do you?
Years ago, lawyers weren't allowed to tout for business. You weren't allowed to advertise, and you weren't allowed to do anything because it was a indeed a gentleman's profession.
Yes.
But first of all, it's no longer gentlemen. Secondly, I'm not sure it's even gentle people.
And remember we talked about at one stage about the lawyer in Richmond whose sign was 1/4 of an inch too high.
Yeah.
And because there were limits as to how big your sign could be.
Very strict rules on what you could and couldn't do. You couldn't name your law firm anything other than your actual own name.
Or someone who had been at the firm a million years ago.
But it had to be, now you can call yourself Excellent Lawyers.
Well, there was the practitioner who wanted to open a law firm called Faith, Hope and Charity.
Yeah.
And did not succeed.
Yeah, and there was Neville Gay up in High Street Northcote. I've cracked this gag before, but for people who are new to the program, Neville Gay in High Street, and we had a friend called Serge Strait, and we thought Strait and Gay would make for a great law firm.
They would indeed.
Yeah.
Yes. I was reading about a law case in the in the US from 1992 called Break and Speed.
Yes.
Yes, where Mr. Speed ran into Ms. Break.
Yes.
So, yes. John, last week in the Uxbridge Magistrates Court in the UK, and in the UK, magistrates are not, generally speaking, legally qualified. District court judges are and above, but magistrates generally not. Now, this particular man, Stanislav Skupian, picked up a race card number dropped by a runner in the London Marathon at the 23-mile mark.
Like a bib?
A bib with except it's one of those ones, I think they're paper and you hold them on with safety pins.
Yep.
And he finished the race, crossed the finishing line and celebrated with the media intended for the person who actually wore that number. And the magistrate went way overboard and gave him 13 weeks jail. 13
weeks
jail. So 3 months in jail.
What was the actual crime? What was the offence?
Theft. He'd picked up the bib and behaved as if it was his own.
Were there enormous prize? Was this someone who'd been convicted of...
No prize. Clearly there was no honour and glory, but what actually happened is the person whose bib he picked up was not able to finish the race because as he approached the finish line, he was pulled aside and said, "You don't have a race bib."
Yeah, well, it's hardly 13 weeks jail material, though, surely. No, was there an appeal?
No, there hasn't been an appeal. He's mentally ill and he was homeless. And my view was this was what I would call extraordinary overkill.
If there's no appeal, they might be quite happy to be inside for 13 weeks. At least they may say, well, I may as well be here as anywhere else.
Yeah,
I don't subscribe to that view.
No, I'm not sure that I'd really want to advocate that position.
No, and
Jon.
I think liberty is incredibly important, but I'm just wondering if that might be a reason why there's been no appeal.
Or it may be too late, So... Anyway, Jon, the other one is more local, and
You'd like to think, wouldn't you, that someone in court would have stood up at some point and said, sorry, I'll stand up and represent this person. Clearly, we'll seek appeal, bail and take this up as a cause.
Well, I was at the Broadmeadows Magistrates Court where someone, a million years ago, where someone was getting, I would have thought, really short shift and badly
pushed around.
And there was a barrister who stood up.
Yeah.
And sought leave to represent.
Yeah, I did that many times, actually, when I was at Fitzroy Legal Service. Indeed, one of the things you did as the kind of duty lawyer was if you said to someone, look, you should represent yourself, and if things go pear-shaped, we'll step in, because, you'd have 20 people for the day and you couldn't possibly do them all.
No.
So you had to quickly triage it and say, well, look, you're going to have to represent yourself, but I'll keep an eye out. If things go pear-shaped, I'll step in. And sometimes you had to. Yeah.
So, this was...
Especially in Northcote in front of Mr. Meehan, who was very mean.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a few run-ins with Mr. Meehan.
I had a matter at I was acting for a policeman who was driving the tow truck too fast, and the OPP took him to task, gave him a speeding ticket.
Okay.
And a policeman had been a long-term client, so we were having an argument about whether delivering a vehicle to forensics meant that he was entitled to ignore the speed limit. I
once represented a person in custody in Northcote who was in the cells who was a dwarf, someone who lived with dwarfism and was accused of attempted theft of a motor vehicle, and I got him off on the basis that his feet couldn't reach the pedals.
Very good, Jon.
Yeah.
Very good.
That wasn't bad, was it?
No, I'm impressed.
He was found with
so I now
the
know
vehicle
what your
had
next
been,
career is going to be.
The vehicle had been hot-wired and he was in fact attempting to start it at the time, but I relied on the defence of impossibility and was successful.
Clearly not Mr. Meehan.
No, it was Mr. Meehan actually, but I thought he was...
not
in a good mood that day.
Okay.
Yes. Other things?
No, that's it, Jon.
Okay, let's get to callers 1300 222 774 before we get carried away with telling war stories. Traffic alert. There's been a crash on Kingsway outbound in Albert Park. In Albert Park, outbound on Kingsway. A B-double truck. Traffic's at a standstill outbound on Kingsway. It sounds like it's well worth avoiding. Let's get to your calls, and Brett's on the road. Morning to you, Brett. You're through to David Whiting.
Hello,
Morning,
Brett.
Jon and David. Thanks for taking my call. I've had a personal protection order raised against me and went to a mention at the magistrates, and the magistrate allowed it to go to a contested hearing, and I requested that the person that raised the order give a more detailed account of the claims that he had in the original order.
Yes.
The magistrate set a date for that to be filed with the court and also provided to me. And as yet, that date's expired and I haven't received those. So my question is, do I just respond to the original order?
Well, it depends on the game plan, what it is you're trying to achieve. You could ask for the matter to be relisted so that you could apply to get the application struck out for failing to provide the particulars. Or you could turn up on the day and say to the magistrate, look, I'm here to answer those allegations, but I'm not here to answer any other allegations because this other person was given the opportunity of providing me with the information and hasn't. Which would you rather do?
I prefer to have it struck out. So do I just apply back to the same magistrate?
Well, you do it a step at a time. What you do is you're not allowed to contact the other person, are you?
Yes, I am. Yeah, no, there's no order in place.
So why would you not email or write and, in a fairly formal sense, say, this order was made on this day that you do these things, you have not. If you don't comply within, 3 days, then I will make an application to the court to have your initial application struck out.
And you do all that in writing?
Yes.
Yep. Got all that?
And I've done that, but he won't provide an email address, which I've requested.
Well, snail mail's nothing wrong with snail mail, Brett.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Brett.
You will have to go and find a post office and acquire a stamp.
I'll do that.
Alrighty, good on you and good luck with that. Ian in Geelong. Morning to you, Ian.
Good morning, and John and David, and thank you very much again for your valuable segment. I'm co-executor for an estate which, in case it makes a difference, is being administered in a different state, not in Victoria.
Yeah.
One of the assets in the estate is an investment which went into administration and then liquidation in 2009.
Yes.
That asset can't be traded and the liquidator will not register any transfers. Legal action by...
So it was a registered security?
Yes, it was.
Which the ASX has taken off the register because of the liquidation. Yep.
Correct.
Yes.
Legal action by 4 groups of disaffected investors has prevented the liquidator from issuing any notice declaring any residual value.
Yes.
My layman's view of the account says these judgments won't make any substantial difference to the return, and the return will range between 0 and maybe 2 or 3 cents in the dollar.
And so in dollar terms, what's your best scenario?
Couple of $1,000.
Okay, and now, so what's the question?
What can the estate do with the asset? How long can we hold the estate? I mean,
why would you not distribute the whole of the estate other than that?
There is another investment which might negate that capital loss.
Okay.
So the estate may want to offset a capital gain against a capital loss.
Correct.
So you've got to keep things in a situation or in arrangements that may maximise that potential.
Correct.
Well, that's just a matter of getting advice from accountants and tying that in with the advice from the lawyers then, isn't it?
Then the answer is I presume it's not you're not making any money out of one or out of either of them at the moment.
Well, one of them is the estate is getting dividends and...
Then I'm afraid, Ian, I would simply sit. It would depend upon the total value of the deal. I mean,
it's just arithmetic, isn't it? I mean, how much is the capital gain, capital loss worth compared to the income?
So what's the capital loss if you get nothing, Ian?
$50,000.
Okay, and it's a $50,000 potential capital gain.
Yep.
And what's the income potential? And how do they compare, and which one delivers you the best result?
And okay, how long?
So that's just arithmetic, isn't it?
Well, you could do it forever.
Right. Okay.
There's no, and you would simply, I would be simply getting rid of the estate other than those 2 items and just sitting.
Right. There's no statute of limitations, if you like.
There is an expectation that you will have wrapped up the estate within a couple of years. But you have a very good reason for doing it. You do not want to. You've got an incredibly likely loss and an all but guaranteed profit. You simply want to realise both of them in the same tax year.
Correct.
Although there may be other reasons that are more important to you than just the financials divided between a number of people. So you've just got to decide within a family situation which way you want to go.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So remember that you can distribute the capital gain out of the estate to the beneficiaries. So you've got the ability there to turn around and say, well, it's really only going to make a difference of $1,000 or so to me, so I don't care, and move on, rather than pay the administration costs of keeping this thing running.
And sometimes there's all sorts of family dynamics and the like, and you just want to get it over and done with at some stage. Yep. Good luck with that. Novak in North Melbourne. Morning, Novak.
G'day, mate.
How can we help you, Novak?
Are you guys familiar with the massive roundabout in North Melbourne where Elizabeth Street meets with Royal Parade and Flemington Road?
You mean one of the biggest intersections in Melbourne?
Also known as the Haymarket, yes.
Yeah. Basically, I was involved in an accident there. I was on Elizabeth Street in my left-hand lane, and I always travel this way because I pick up my wife. And
so you're heading out of town on the left-hand lane of Elizabeth Street, is that right, Novak?
Yep. light turned green,
Yeah.
and I proceeded within my lane,
Yeah.
bypassed Peel Street, which was the immediate left,
Yes.
and was heading towards Flemington Road, which is where I live.
Yeah. Did you want to go to the
And-
service lane or the main
No,
road?
he's in the far left lane. He has no choice.
Well,
service lane it is.
I'm
Yep.
anticipating
Yeah.
that might be the problem.
Oh, no, I was in the correct lane,
Yes.
not in the service lane.
Yep.
And basically, a lady came from my right and just smashed right into me in front of Peel Street.
Right.
Yes.
And the only way she could have done that is by running a red light, because I've gone back the next day after the
Okay,
accident.
so her suggestion is presumably that she was already in the intersection, because a green light isn't automatically an authorisation to put the foot down, because you still have to be wary of vehicles which are still in the intersection.
That's fair enough.
Yes.
But there's such a small distance, and there's just no way that she could have gotten to that point
Unless she was
had
being
red
blocked
light.
by something else, Novak. So what's the question?
The question is, she's basically put it on me, saying that I failed to give way.
Do you have insurance,
Yeah.
Novak?
I've only got third party.
Well,
Ouch.
then you refer her claim against you to your insurers, but you at the same time need to get someone to represent you if your car is damaged to the point where you want to chase her to repair it.
Have you reported the
Yeah.
matter to the police?
They didn't want to have a bar of it
Yeah.
because no one was injured.
Okay.
Okay, but if you want to claim against, is she insured?
She's insured.
Okay,
She's
so
got
if you want
full
to-
comp,
if you want a
and
hand in dealing with-
her insurance company has sent me the
That's right.
letter to fill out my side of the story, which
Sure,
I've
which you
just
shouldn't
very
do.
recently done.
No, you shouldn't do. But either way, if you've done that, you've done that. But how much is the money lost to your car, the value of your car?
I believe it'll be up to anywhere between $5,000 to $3,000.
But between $3,000 and $5,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so David, what do you recommend?
Well, I think I'd be doing, Novak, what you're actually doing here. But at some point, if you want something from her, you're going to need to engage some assistance.
In dealing with her?
Are there any witnesses?
No, just my wife in the car. What we both did, we sent statutory declarations.
Yes, but what
Which,
you've got no, and your wife won't have been looking beyond you to see what cars were coming through from the intersection.
No, but she was definitely aware that, as
That
I
you got
was,
hit,
that
yeah.
we left as when the light turned green.
Okay. Novak, you're going to need some help in dealing with her insurance company. It's going to be difficult to do that on your own. So, David,
North Melbourne Legal Service, I'd be trying to get some assistance like that.
tend not to do car crashes, most
Okay,
legal
all
centres these days. Yeah.
So you're going to need some assistance, or you might just be stuck with your own repairs, Novak.
Oh, that's such a terrible thing.
Well, that's why people... Yeah, well...
That's why you have full insurance, where you can.
And you are at risk if you are in the situation you've exactly found yourself in, Novak. There's no easy way for you to get your damage attended to.
The other way that you might look at it, Novak, is you might go and knock on some doors at the roundabout and see if someone's got some CCTV cameras that you might be able to have a look at to see whether, in fact, this particular vehicle on that particular day ran a red light.
Alrighty, so good luck there, Novak, and I'm sorry that's not what you wanted to hear. Bill in Rosebud, good morning to you, Bill.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks
Bill.
for taking my call. I've just got a question. I'm beneficiary of a will. It was a nasty family business. It's my mother's will. They still haven't paid me out after about 3 years now.
And have they told you why not?
No. The executor is actually my brother.
And how do you know that you're entitled to some money?
Because it was in the will.
And do you know that your mother left enough money to pay you out?
I don't know. The estate was millions of dollars, and there's some skullduggery going on. We couldn't fight it at the time because we didn't have the money to.
So Bill,
fight it.
why do you not have? I mean, presumably you're chasing a 5 or 6 figure sum.
50,000, yeah.
Yeah. Why would you
Sorry,
not
50,000?
Why would you not go and get some advice on the question? Now you can.
Because everything I've had to do with this family has cost me a fortune because they've got bigger lawyers than I have, and their lawyers specialise in running things out.
Bill, I would start with, I'd probably go to the probate office in Latrobe Street.
Yep.
Lonsdale Street, part of the court system. What you want to do is do a search on your mum's will and inventory so you can see how big the estate was. You would then look and, although it may now be at public records, so you want to find a copy of not just what the will says, because presumably you've already got that, but you want to know what assets she left. And at that stage, and then there's another process in the probate rules that allow you to ask for what are called 15-month accounts. Yep. So you can start that process. 15-month accounts. Yep.
But Bill, are you planning to represent yourself?
Look, I do have a lawyer, but I just the money is causing a problem.
They tend not to do much for nothing. They want to get paid.
Right.
But I mean, you said they've got really good representation. Well, your choice is either if you want to do anything about it, you've got to basically lawyer up too. Otherwise, it's all over. So you haven't got much choice.
So to me, it's a really simple question. My mother left me $50,000 in the will. She died 3 years ago. When can I expect to be paid?
Yeah,
right? And that's the question I'd put.
All right.
All right, thanks very much.
Oh, good luck with that. Pam, good morning to you in East Melbourne.
Good morning, John. How are you?
Good, welcome.
Well, thank you. Look, I am an English teacher, actually, but I'm trying to assist a little bit a woman who's fled domestic violence in Adelaide, and she arrived in Melbourne on April the 10th. She went straight to Launch Housing in Collingwood. She has been assisted by a social worker there up until this week. Now, there's been a lot of things happening for her. She's applied for a public housing flat, and that's all in the system, and she's on the priority list. Yesterday, she went to Preston Housing Office and discovered that she'd actually been put under the wrong category. This is my understanding. I wasn't there. There's evidently a special domestic violence category for an application for a public housing flat. So she went through the whole process of changing the application yesterday. Today, she had been told that she had an appointment with Launch Housing today to discuss where to from this week. And the meeting, unfortunately, was cancelled.
So the question for today for David, Pam?
The question for today is she requires some more time to be assisted by Launch Housing in this case, but she has been told she has to be out of the temporary motel accommodation on Thursday. She wants to know, and I'd be interested to know, a not-for-profit like Launch Housing, if things go belly up for her, as it has, what legal recourse has she got in terms of,
Well, sorry, Pam, against who?
Against Launch Housing.
Well,
What, she wants to compel them to help her?
No, not at all. They took her on as one of their caseworkers took her on to assist her with looking for housing and rental assistance.
Places like that, Pam, have a really limited amount of resources available to them.
Absolutely.
And they have lots and lots of clients who are desperate for the services that they provide.
They have to prioritise who they can help.
And it's a constant prioritisation and a cap, if you like, on what they can do for particular people.
So I'm still not sure what exactly you thought David could help you with today, Pam.
Well, I want to know. I rang Launch Housing and I said, who can she talk to higher up in the organisation to explain that Launch Housing had actually put her under the wrong category?
Pam, are we being a little bit unfair on a not-for-profit by the name of Launch Housing?
Not at all. I think they're an absolutely wonderful organisation. All I want to know is they actually, when they first worked with her, put it into a category that wasn't as prioritised as where she should have been.
Does that mean she might have been categorised better or she wasn't categorised appropriately?
She wasn't.
Because there's lots of organisations fit across a number of
Yes, no.
Applicants.
I understand you want to
my-
help, Pam, and I think that's terrific, but I'm just not quite sure what legal advice David can provide to you on behalf of your friend today.
Well,
And that's the third time I've had to ask you, so I'm sorry, we're running out of time.
Okay, I just want to know who I can talk to in an organisation not for profit, because nobody can tell me who she can actually talk to.
Well, no, I mean, why would you not go? Why would you not go and be this person's advocate, rather than sort of, in a sense, make appointments for her? And it's the difficulty. The answer would be, if I help your friend, who do I not help? Is the difficulty that an organisation like that faces. So I can understand going there. There might be other organisations that might be able to provide the same kind of assistance, and your friend might be a new client at that organisation. But I don't know that would necessarily give her priority in any particular situation.
Good luck with that, Pam. That's a difficult position. David, North Melbourne Legal Service is now called Inner Melbourne Community Legal. Mm-hmm. So there you are, thank you. And there are businesses that will allow you to transfer shares of companies in administration in probate, so you can claim the loss. So they'll buy them off you.
There are also charities that take them as well.
Okay, costs about $200 for the service. It's all above board, all very legal, and look around, you'll be able to find people, and that may be able to assist one of our callers before who was wondering how to deal with some capital gains and capital losses to be offset within the administration of an estate.
Perfect.
Yeah, it could well be.
The reason why I tried to get rid of for an estate some Arium shares, a very small number.
Yeah.
They said they came back to me and said thank you, but no thank you.
What, you can't give away?
Well, they weren't worth enough to be worth the exercise.
Well, because the transfer costs money and all the rest of it too.
Oh, we're happy to pay for the trip, but the answer would be, sorry, no, not taking them, thank you.
Can you just cancel them?
No, the answer is you just ignore them, pretend they have no value, and in 10 years' time somebody writes you a letter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Someone who's trying to buy the shell of the company.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's itself an asset.
Yeah, but it's got to be tidy before it's sold, John.
Yeah, there is that. Thank you, David.
Thank you, John.
And look, I do want to acknowledge there's about 50 text messages of law firms with funny names, most of them entirely fictitious, although I do like the one in Hobart called White and Wong. 28 minutes to 11. Thank you indeed for your texts and your calls. David will be back at the same time next week if you were waiting and you didn't get through today.